I do feel that my willingness to pay for the date or plan a date depends very much on what the courting has been like during our first couple of dates. If he's been attentive and responsive and responsible and kind, then he's getting those checks on that list of mine, and I'm definitely a lot more willing to pay for the date.
So the willingness to want to pay on a date is dependent upon how much the guy's invested or how many dates you're on. It's definitely how much the guy's invested, and you can feel that as a person. You can feel that chemistry with somebody where you want to pick up the bill. You're like, no, it's okay, I have this time. You've been out a few times, rather than somebody you're like, okay, it's the third date and now I have to pay. Like, there's not a number of dates that you just go by. It's all innate, and it's a natural feeling to want to do that.
I actually think that you just hit on my problem with dating. Actually, is that my problem with dating is that when I'm out on a date and I'm experiencing whatever I'm experiencing, I feel like it's a job interview versus building a relationship with somebody, and clearly you would disagree.
That's why me in particular, I don't do the official dating, and it's more so I want to understand. When I ask somebody out, it's just to hang out. And we're gonna go hang out, have some drinks. If we get some food, great. I happen to pick up the tab, but the point of us hanging out, and I don't want to call it a date, the point of us hanging out is just to hang out.
So I actually have a really interesting question. What do you consider a date to be then? Right, because you just said dinner and drinks, which is what I feel most people would say is a date.
Okay.
But that's hanging out to you, so
yeah.
What's the threshold that it becomes a date?
I don't do dates. I think I said it earlier, but
it's not
I think you're just not calling it a date.
Yeah, you're just not calling it a date, but what everyone else considers to be a date is what you're doing.
Possibly.
Do you think the reason paying for a date may feel like an obligation to you is because you're treating a date like an interview?
Yes. No, I'm sorry. You gotta repeat the question though.
So I feel like when going on a date, there's a bunch of formal structure to a date that typically becomes a habit of people, and there are certain kind of flagpoles of that, which Joe has alluded to that he removes from the situation so that he's not going on a date.
What are those flagpoles? Or whatever.
I would say that the flagpoles of dating right now are when you meet somebody, there's the social constructs, right? Like, I'm gonna ask a girl out, I'm going to pick the place, I'm gonna pick all of those things, and then during the date I'm gonna ask a series of questions to get to know the person better, which are very stereotypical questions that you can kind of just ask, and it's not really, do I know this person, right? Like, you're supposed to ask a set of questions and you're supposed to have a set of conversation pieces that you don't address.
And in Joe's dating world, okay, in Joe's dating, it is. In Joe's dating world, what happens is in that scenario, so when there's no formal asking or questions or whatever it is. It's all about, I guess I call it hanging out, but it's all about just like, hey, let's go get a drink. And then that drink turns into informal conversation, and you eventually learn more about that person than you do in a formal date. And yeah, you have a few shots and you get some food and you just hang out. And that's when you know who that person really is, and to see if you can further that relationship or not.
So I like your shock the system strategy, but do you have a prepared line of questioning that you tend to ask most people?
No, not at all.
So you totally just go with the flow?
I just go, typically, okay, good question. So what happens is, in my experience, what happens is they try and dictate, or the women try and dictate the questions.
The women
have the questions they try and dictate, and then I in responding to, I kind of ignore what they're asking.
Based on how the night goes, guy pays for dinner, guy walks girl home, guy maybe or not. Yeah, but your shop system strategy is not what I'm talking about as the standard. I'm not saying that I do.
I apologize. Continue.
Anyway, and then does guy kiss girl at end of night or not? End of first date, follow up with girl, set up second date, repeat whole process over and over and over again until you hit the point where you two are comfortable enough to actually pursue a relationship.
Hence, standard dating.
Right.
Joe dating.
Right. And this,
Okay.
Joe has a shock the system strategy.
And I do. I shock or, I don't date. I hate the fucking word dating. Excuse my language.
What's the difference in dating and what you're doing? Like
the difference is, it's like I'm hanging out.